got a bit of a demo, which is always nervous when you've got free Wi-Fi and everything, but we'll see how it goes. But I've also got some slides. So first thing here is anybody in the room built a second brain, what we call a second brain, or has one? Yep, you have. Okay, so you know the concept. The idea for a second brain was something I got into maybe about 6 or 7 years ago. And it's this idea of building a system of notes for everything you read, everything that you consume, podcasts, note-taking, books and everything. You take your own notes and you put it into a system, and then you interlink all of those systems to kind of build out what's called a knowledge graph. And the idea here is your brain is great at making ideas, but it's also great at forgetting things. So when you kind of come up with a new idea years later and you're writing something, your second brain can kind of remind you that you read something a year ago on that, or you read an article about that person there, or that person was featured. So it's this kind of idea of interlinking all of your notes and your consumption into somewhere that you can tap into. There's a kind of lot of different methods on it. I kind of use the para method, where it's like you have projects that you use, you have areas. So areas are like your company. So I have an area for one of my companies. I have another company in Canada as well, so I have another area of that. I have an area for personal life. I have an area for growth. So you kind of like bulk things into it. Then you have resources. So that's kind of all your notes, everything you take, and you put that into a chunk and you intermix them. And then you have archives, so you can always keep it fresh and clean. There's a couple of other things that I add as well, like an inbox and a systems and things like that as well, that just kind of like add to it. But it's very simple in a sense. So as I said, 7 years ago, I got really into this, and I got into it through a platform or an app called Roam Research, and it was one of the first things to come out that it was like really bare bones. It was by a kind of weird founder who used to have these community calls, and he'd be like high as a kite, and we would all kind of like work on it together. It was like really raw. But you kind of write something and then you put brackets around it and it would tag to something else, and then you would kind of get this graph of knowledge, and it was like cool. It kind of didn't work on mobile though, and you're like, ah. So then there was another tool that people had built that worked on mobile, but then I started using that, like Logseg. All that to say, I went through so many tools, right? And I went through so many kind of things. And to believe it or not, there's like $11 billion industry just on note-taking apps. So just on what people are taking, there's this amount of money that people spend, which kind of is mental, like in a way, when you think about it. But it's such a big industry, and it's such a varied of platforms out there. And it's one of those ones where they do 80% of the things you want, but they don't do that last bit and everything. So I kind of gave up a lot of the times, and I kind of came back to it, and I came, this app's going to be the app. And I'm like, this is it. Even last year, I got really into Notion. I was like, right, I'm going to just get into Notion, but it just became a point where, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. It was taking me so long to organise stuff and so long to interlink stuff and everything that, the problem was never really the tool. It was like me. It was the time I had to do it, and it was like getting in the way of actually doing real work. And then some of the tools with AI coming onto it, you're like, okay, this is going to make it easier and all that. Notion had AI integrated and all that, but it always felt like AI bolted onto a tool, and it kind of wouldn't work the way you would want it to work, in a sense, because you'd be like, you'd still need to do work with it. It'd be like a separate window and everything. So it kind of didn't solve that problem. Meanwhile, so it was still, I had to do the work, and I didn't want to do the work. And kind of meanwhile, ChatGPT came out, and I started to use it for everything. I was like in the ChatGPT corner. I was OpenAI. I was kind of giving talks about it a couple of years ago, how I was using it for research, how I was using it for strategy. I was all in. I'm like, this is awesome, this is great. And then the last year, I kind of really started to use it for coding as well. And I studied computer science a long time ago, and I was a software developer for a long time, and then I kind of transitioned into design. And in the last couple of years, I've kind of gone back to coding, because it's coding with AI so enjoyable, actually. It kind of takes away the how do you get this working? It just works, and you're like, oh, like this is, and you can kind of describe your design. So that came around, and I tried all the tools, and I actually gave a talk on how I use different tools for different things. I had, a different tool for prototyping, I had a different tool for bug fixing, and I had experimented a lot. Looking back, probably spending 20 hours a week just testing stuff, building stuff and everything. But Claude Code from the summer last year really became my tool of choice. And it was kind of weird just work. So Claude Code is just in the terminal, and it was released because Anthropic had actually just did it as an experiment, and all the developers and Anthropic was like, this is awesome, we should release this. And they're like, okay, let's put it out there. And I think it's head and shoulders against the actual apps that they have and the actual SaaS companies that are adding AI onto it. So it's like you've got a company, or you've got like even Cursor or stuff like that, they're adding AI onto it, they're kind of building features around it. Then you've got ChatGPT, you've got their desktop tools and all that. But Claude Code feels like it's just got a bit of autonomy to itself, because it can kind of see everything and it can work there. And if you actually look, there was a release from Anthropic for co-work a few weeks ago, maybe a few weeks ago, and the head engineer came out and said, we actually built this because we were looking how people were using Claude Code, and we were seeing how they were using it as a co-worker rather than just coding, which I'm kind of going to show you how I use it. And so they built a product. So I feel as though like they are leaving Claude Code out there as the kind of cherry in the mine, and actually looking to see how people are using it, and then kind of using that as their research for what their next product will be for the people that are a little bit scared of the terminal or aren't like power users. So I was using Claude Code for coding in the summer, but then a kind of weird thing happened where I wasn't leaving it. Like I was just going, okay. Like normally I'd go over to ChatGPT and I'd like projects set up and I'd documents in there, and I'd be like, hey, I need to brainstorm an idea, or hey, I need to synthesize a workshop, or hey, and then I would kind of like just do the coding, and I was like, why am I going somewhere else? So I started just using it for the research, the strategy, not just the coding. And then I started using it for my life as well, like, give me an itinerary for my vacation, all that. And I just wasn't leaving Claude Code. And the kind of penny started to drop where I was like, Claude Code can remember things. It can write to your desktop. Like it can actually help you set up, tools on your command, so you can kind of like set preferences and things like that. It can install stuff for you, so it can help you make your laptop better in a sense. It can just do all the things that are kind of tricky to do for someone that's not exactly in that landscape. And it can run commands. It can kind of tell you. You can ask it anything because it doesn't judge you on being an idiot for things, which I love. So I was kind of like, just using it more and more. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to go back to this second brain idea, and I'm just going to let Claude do all the grunt work here. I'm just going to let it kind of do all the stuff that I hated doing that held me back from having that brain. So I built one. But I'm a user designer at trade, so there's a lot of things out there that it's funny. I think user experience designers are the people that are going to help the world the most at the moment, because it's so easy to create things that aren't solving problems. It's so easy to create things that are just not going to be used. And I think you're kind of seeing that a lot in the world, like if it's so easy to create something. So I've kind of taken a UX mindset with this, where I come up with ideas and I put them in my inbox that week, and then on a Friday I'll kind of go, okay, I'm going to take one of those ideas and I'm going to actually build it out over the weekend, put it into my brain, my system, and then I'm going to use it all week, and if it doesn't work, I'm just going to remove it, or I'm going to think that. I've been doing that for about 3 months now, and it's kind of like I've removed a lot, because Claude's actually got better at actually just working out some of the stuff that I used to have to tell it. So it's getting better. And so it's kind of actually getting smaller. So this is not just like loads of features. This is kind of like things that I actually use on a weekly basis to help me in my life and my business. So, at a glance, the kind of artificial brain. Claude Code is at the heart of it, right? So it's my main interface. Obsidian, which is a note-taking app, it's the vault. So you call the brain the vault. The reason I kind of chose that is it's like the lowest technological lightweight. That's probably not the right phrase. It's lightweight. It's just markdown files. It's just folders and markdown files. You can never open it again, and you have all your files there. You just link things with tags and hashtags and everything. And now you can now do properties as well, where you actually have like a YAML for a folder or for a file, and you can kind of create databases. But it's so much more lightweight than like a Notion or some of the other tools. It's not inside software. It's just kind of like a way to interface with it. So that's the reason I kind of chose that. I have a Mac Mini at home. It's just always on as a little server, so I can kind of like interact with it, and I'll show you how I do that with my phone, etc. I like Obsidian, but I don't want it as my task thing because it's just a bit clunky. So I kind of hacked, but I didn't hack, Claude Code hacked Things 3, which is a proprietary app on the desktop, so it kind of interacts with this internal database. And Claude Code wrote all the code to do that, so now I can interact with that. There's not an API for Things 3, but I love the app, it's just nice to use. So now I kind of use that still as my to-do thing, to-do list. And then I have like Readwise, which I'd use for reading articles, and I'll show you how to do that, and then Snippet for listening to podcasts and kind of taking notes on that. I can talk to my brain from anywhere, so my brain is on this laptop. The code is basically in a Git repository, all my skills and everything, so I can pull it down from anybody's laptop and start using it. My vault is all my files. It's synced with Obsidian, so it kind of follows me everywhere as well. I have my Mac Mini, so I can just SSH onto that from my iPhone. But I've also set up 2 interfaces through Telegram and through iMessage. I set up my iMessage this week because it's much better for using for Siri. But even where we are with technology, Glasgow accent just still doesn't work very well. So that my idea there was I could just start to say, hey Siri, send the brain a message to say I've got a new appointment or whatever it be. It kind of works. It's another one where Apple make it hard to actually add adapters and all that, so it's a little bit hacky. And Telegram is just a bot, so it works much better. So then under the hood of Claude, so this is ever changing as well, and I've put these kind of like in the order of importance. So skills came out about 3 months ago, and they kind of like changed like how you think about using Claude Code. Think of a skill as like if you're doing something more than once, you can create a skill for it. If you want it to do it in a certain way, you can create a skill for it. So you want it to be in a certain output. So I have lots of skills for like a UX designer skill. I have like a meeting transcriber skill. I have like accountability skill that will kind of keep me accountable for my goals for the quarter. And then you have commands, which is /, so things that you do a lot, you can just / start date, / end date, / add a project, / and you have kind of lots of different things there. The commands kind of call on the skills, but they kind of do it without you having to call on this skill. It just works it out. Hey, Anton's asking about football, he's got a football skill, I'll kind of call that. And it's kind of just one of those things that just works. It's kind of cool. Your Claude markdown file, that's like at the top of your pyramid if you think about it. So everywhere you use Claude Code in a code repository of that will have a Claude file. It's kind of, there's a lot of conversations around it. They can get too big, you want to keep it to like 200 lines, and that's like the first thing that Claude will look at when it starts a session, because it's starting a new context window. So it goes, okay, this is a new code base, I'm going to my Claude markdown file, and it gets the kind of starting place for it. Hugely important file. Like it is really, if that's wrong, everything Claude does from there is kind of not going to be right in a sense. So there's a couple of commands that Claude Code just came out with where you update it, you kind of prune it, and you kind of look after it. And then agents, so agents came out about probably 7 months ago or 6 months ago, and that's when I really got into Claude Code, and I created an agent for like everybody that I think of that I've worked with as a team back in the day. Like I had a UX writer, I had a copywriter, I had a marketing writer, I had a front-end developer, I had a tail, and I kind of went overboard, and it was counterproductive because it was kind of like using too much context for simple things because it would load in the whole agent, and before you know it, you're like, oh, this is kind of like too overblown. So I've degraded agents completely, and I actually think Claude Code is degrading them as well and then replacing them with lightweight skills. But the cool thing about this is they're all just markdown files, and I'll kind of show you. So they're all readable. So this isn't code, this isn't like, you know, logic or anything. It's just readable files that you can kind of understand. So yeah, kind of just all markdown files. Everything you see, you can kind of read. You can open in any kind of file, any place. So some of the commands I have daily commands like, you know, start my day, end my day. So start my day kind of like just goes through my email, goes through some meetings I've got that day, looks at what I did yesterday, looks at what's on my weekly kind of goals, and kind of says, hey, what are you going to concentrate on here? My end of day kind of goes through more of an accountability. So I'm trying to be more healthy at the moment, so I'm drinking less alcohol. Did you drink alcohol? Did you eat well? Because I'm trying to, you know, I'm getting old, I have a young daughter, so I'm like, yes, I ate well. An interesting thing happened to me last week where, you know, you're working and it's getting late in the afternoon and you just go for Uber Eats and you press on Uber Eats and the first thing that comes up is like Wendy's 2-for-1 burgers. Right? And I was like, I've never had a Wendy's, so I've ordered it. It wasn't good, felt bad. End of my day, I was like, yeah, I ate healthily. Claude Code was like, I saw the receipt for Uber Eats in your inbox. Was this for someone else? I'm like, chill out, man. Chill out with the judgment here. But it's kind of like cool the way that it just like had done that, and without me saying check my emails. So yeah, and I can add projects and I can do comms and everything. So I'll come into it later on. But I live in Montreal. I'm a terrible immigrant. I don't speak French. They're already trying to get rid of me, believe it or not. But my daughter is 6 years old. She does speak French. She goes to French school. The school is a brilliant community school. I get about 14 emails a week, all in French. So I have a skill that just like checks my email every night and goes, nothing worth reading, or hey, your daughter needs a special pair of shoes for tomorrow or something. So I kind of like it, just a small thing, but it was like a nice addition. Research tasks and everything. So. Oh, let me see. So let's kind of jump into it, and this is kind of where I've got like a list of demo things. So as I said, I kind of like have different skills for things. So this is, I'm just going to show you the file system. So this is like the artificial brain. So this is my vault. So this is all the notes. You can kind of see here, they're just markdown files. Everything outside of the vault is in a Git repository, so I can update things, and I can push it, and I can pull it. If you look in the Claude folder, so this is a skill, so let's look at like football skill. So it's just markdown. So it's just kind of like describing what I want from a football update. So I'm going to Napoli at the last game of the season. I've got a ticket, so I want to get Napoli updates. I'm interested in Rangers and that, and I'm not interested in other things. So this is just like me. This is a skill. It's like not complex code or anything. It's not like anything other than you could write yourself, or you could ask Claude Code to write it. So everything here is just written documents, which I think is cool. Like it's like simplification of a complex system in a way. And then I'll show you Obsidian. So this is Obsidian, so you can see my folders here. So I have an inbox where I just kind of send ideas that I've had that week. So like AI personalization idea, or I've got notes or something. I have a daily note every day, which Claude creates for me, and it kind of like, you know, your energy check, priorities, etc. It just does it for me. I don't really, I've never, that's probably the first time I've opened a daily note. I also have briefings that I just started adding this week. So I every kind of morning at 7 o'clock, I ask it to run the briefing, and it kind of looks at news outlets that I'm interested in, and then I've started using a thing called 11 Labs to kind of turn it into an actual little briefing.
Here's your Wednesday briefing for March 4th, 2026. We start with the Middle East. New MacBook Neo is a $599 colorful laptop.
So it kind of goes through global news, and then it gives me a bit of kind of like AI news or tech news, and then it gives me a bit of sport, and then it kind of gives me like something about Scotland or something. So 6 minutes every morning. I've used it for this week. I actually kind of think this is cool. I'm going to set up one that's an evening briefing as well, just to kind of get the news. This is just saving me doom scrolling for the first half hour of my day, like literally, because we don't need to talk about how bad the world is now, but it's a kind of nice addition. It also gets sent to, so if I kind of bring up my iPhone here, how do I kind of get off of, here we go. So if I bring up Telegram, so it kind of sends me that in the morning.
Tonight, Ireland host Wales at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin.
So every morning I get like
Jack
an audio
Crowley
message, and
has reclaimed the Ireland
there's a
tension.
message, and I can kind of say, like I can just listen to it there, so I'm not having to open my laptop or that. So then you've got all of my projects in here. I've kind of got them in different folders. So these are the main projects I work for Mogul. We have kind of ongoing projects, so we have like pugs and tickets and everything, so we kind of log them. And if I'll show you the actual graph view, so this is all the kind of connections with all my notes. So it's all just through tagging and through kind of word recognition, and it's just builds out. This is a kind of cool way that it shows you it building out. And I have like if I go to my articles, I have articles from 2013 in there, so I go way back, and it kind of builds out this graph of knowledge that Claude can then interact with and kind of find relationships between it. So all that said, I also kind of like created a demo. It's going to be like one of these one-shot demos, which I don't normally do, but let's see, demo. Oh no, not that. Demo prompts. Okay, so as I said earlier, like we're a company, we're a UX UI company, and we build things for people. We always have loads of ideas of things. This is where AI is really good in terms of bringing the ideas together. So I have a kind of tried and tested method of how I kind of go through things. So here's the idea that I've been having. So the World Cup's coming up. The World Cup is starting in the summer. Scotland got through for the first time since 1998. It's a big deal. It's like the biggest deal. We could just watch the last game that they beat Denmark. So I'm kind of going to go to Boston, I'm going to go to Miami. And I was like, there's not a website that kind of combines that traveller with the World Cup, and I think it'd be a kind of cool concept to have, an overlapping understanding of football, so kind of like, it gives you updates on the World Cup, but it also gives you, like, if you're going to a place, it can make the most out of your trip. Here's what to do on game day, here's what to do in your hangover. So if I was to do this, I'd kind of do some market research. I'd say, hey, find 2 or 3 competitors out there. And then I really like business model canvases. I don't know if anybody's familiar with them, but they're just a nice way of kind of like positioning a business where you can kind of see how you're going to make revenue and stuff like that. And then some personas, and then a value proposition based on those personas, and then brand directions. So I'm kind of asking it to go, hey, given what you know, give me 3 brand directions, and then choose one of your brand directions, and then take everything that you know and start to build out UX strategy and wireframes. So we can kind of like build, we've got a skill that basically creates something like this, right? So it's kind of describing a page. So it's kind of going through here's the page context, the overall layout, etc. So I'm asking our, I should have opened it in another thing, maybe. Yeah. So I'm going to ask this prompt to kind of go through and do that. And then the final part of that is I'm going to ask a coding agent to actually take each of those pages and code it, use this, use Next.js, blah, 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 and then I'm going to test it. And then at the end, I've got a skill that kind of creates decks. So I'm going to say create an investor deck. So I'm going to copy this, all right, and I'm going to go over to my terminal. I'm going to go here. I'm going to create brain. So now I've opened Claude Code. But this is my brain, Claude Code. And I'm just going to paste this in. Oh, I'm going to go in planning mode, right? And I'm going to paste it in. So as I said, I would normally never do this amount of work in one go, but I thought it might work in the space of the other demos, so we'll see what happens. So it's going to go into kind of planning mode. So there's 4 different modes in Claude Code. Planning, ask me to update things. So if it edits anything, it asks you. Dangerously permissions, it just does stuff. That's what I'm usually on, because I'm just like, go for it. And then just like as a chat, so just use it as a chat. So planning mode, the benefits of planning mode is it's in this context window, and it will use this context window to make a plan. But then when you go to implement that plan, it will use another context window. So you're kind of like staying in your lane of conversation, and then it's like using another context window. So you're not getting over your context window by the end of the kind of the work. So let's leave that running, and then I'll go over to my other brain here. So as I said, I've got lots of different kind of things. I can start my day. I've already started my day, so we'll see what happens here. So it's kind of checking my Gmail, checking my other Gmail. It's caught an error. So I'll go through certain things that were in my skill for that. And then what I can do is I'm just going to show you a project that we're currently working on just now for Tahiti, so Tahiti tourism. So if I go over here, you'll see kind of like I have a project, I have meetings. So this project is so I work a lot in the travel industry, and we build learning management systems for travel agents to learn about destinations they've never been to so that they can sell them. So Tahiti is our latest client. Awesome. I'm going in August. It's hugely difficult to sell a vacation to Tahiti because it's really expensive. The islands, there's 180 islands, but they're miles away from each other. So this learning platform is really there for helping business people to sell vacations to Tahiti and make money. So we've been through the process of, like, we had some really good workshops. We created the workshop agendas through Claude Code. Then we kind of synthesized everything. So just, had everything in the vault, and then we said, hey, here's the transcribes of the workshops, and then it kind of synthesized everything. We've got a couple of features on there so that a travel agent wants to sell a vacation to Tahiti, they can upload a booking, and then they get recognition for that and potentially get to go to Tahiti and stuff like that. So we've built a prototype for the whole platform, and we're getting feedback on that platform. So let me go back to here. So you can say, 54 days I've been working on it, alcohol-free day for 13 days. For a Scottish man of my age, that is not different. And then you can see the schedule here. So now I can say, like, okay, so now I'm in my brain, and we've built the Tahiti demo for uploading a booking. We sent it out to some people, and I saw an email yesterday with some feedback on it, so I can go, hey, so feedback on Tahiti booking prototype from, and I saved her email address here. Can you find it in inbox and give me the details of the feedback? So now it's kind of going, okay, cool. I'm going to learn a little bit about Tahiti because it's in my vault. I'm going to remind myself. Now I'm going to go to my inbox and I'm going to look for this email, and I'll tell you if I find it. I'll just jump over here and see if this is still planning. So this is still kind of going through the plan. So it found the email. We pulled it earlier because I tested it. And what's working well, like this is working well. There's a couple of things, 10 megabit file update, overall very positive. So now I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to go into planning mode. And I'm going to say, okay, can you just implement the improvements on our MVP and iterate based on the feedback. So I'm still in my brain, but I'm asking it to read an email for something, and now I'm going to ask it to update another file base. So it's probably going to go through a couple of tools, kind of look at what the code base is just now. So this code base is in a different place. I've got the server running just now. It's exploring the booking upload process just now.
So you just have like full confidence that whatever it just told you from that email is correct?
Well, it kind of gave me a synopsis of it. I read the email, but I didn't have to kind of like copy and paste stuff from the email, and it was like a long email of this is working, this isn't working. So yes and no. Like I'm kind of confident because I've seen it.
Do you still check your email, or this is how you?
I still do, but I kind of like, so the update probably told me I'd nothing urgent. So like I still check my email obviously because I still reply stuff. This does offer, I can send replies back. I've done it a couple of times, but that's a bit like, whoa. Like I still need to go in there, but I love just in the morning like getting a big red message saying a client's pissed off, like, and I'm like, okay, I actually need to get there, or hey, there's nothing urgent, a couple of emails, you know, it's kind of cool. So it's kind of looking at file bases, it's kind of looking at stuff there. I'll show you what it actually looks like here. So this is the prototype that we're working on. This is the upload page. You kind of just click here, you upload a invoice, and then it shows you what the AI is extracted. So what it should do is come up with a plan, how it's going to, so you can see it's actually in the file, the other files outside of the pane, so it's kind of like looking there. And it should come up with like, hey, I'm going to make these improvements, what do you think? And then I can just implement it.
Yes or no?
Yeah, you can go back and forth on a plan, which is kind of cool as well. So maybe I'll open another terminal just now. This is the other thing as well, you can just open as many terminals and do parallel work at the same time. So that's going to kind of work there. Let's see where this one's at. So okay, so this one's completed the big project that hopefully it will kind of go through. I'll just say yeah, like go for it. So now that's going to kind of go through all those steps that we mentioned, and we'll see where it gets to. I'm not like overly confident it'll get to the very end, but it might. And then we kind of see that that's still working. So here, another couple of things I can do is like, so I can check my email, I can kind of get updates. I've also got it connected to finance, my finance app. So I've got one in Canada and one in the UK. So I can kind of create invoices and things like that. So I can say like, create me a new invoice for Mogul and Zero for evolving web for $1,000 for speaking. Right. I can also pull like, hey, how many invoices has not been paid? What does my cash flow look like? It's awesome because it kind of combines two systems, and it can kind of see where I need to move money sometimes between things. So you can see here it's kind of going through so it's using an MCP to connect with the API for Zero. MCPs are just kind of like this way of kind of talking to an API, and it's kind of like a nice thing. It does fill your context up pretty quickly sometimes if the MCP is big, because it's giving you all the information in one go, whereas a skill is kind of like using it in bit parts. So it's like, I'll check this first and then I'll check this. So skills, I feel as though, are going to head in the direction and replace MCPs. So what's that asking me now? So invoices there you go, it's kind of already created the invoice. So if I go over to here, and I go in here, and if I refresh this page, it's probably going to ask me to. Let me see. There we go. Yes, it's me. So there you go. It's kind of created an invoice for me. So kind of cool in a way. It would be cool if we've got a couple of proposals out there. If I saw an email come in the morning and said, hey, Malta's one of my clients, we've got a proposal. Malta's signed off. I'll be like, create an email, create an invoice. You know, and then you can kind of see how these things could start to be automated more and more once you get the confidence that they work. But this is just to show that it's kind of like interfacing with different types of things. Let me go back here, see where we're at with this thing. So now it's kind of updating the plan. It's compacting the conversation. So other things I can do as well. So I read a lot of content. I kind of like post a little bit on LinkedIn. Kind of LinkedIn. You kind of feel as though you should do it, but I could be on an article like this. So ChatGPT 4 just launched. I use Reader, so I can kind of turn on this little thing here, and I can highlight things, and then this article gets saved in my Reader Readwise, and then it gets synced to my Vault. So that's happening just now. So now I've got something that I've read and I've kind of like left a note on, and you can kind of leave things like this. So you can go, this is interesting. So I kind of can view that, but I can also read this in Reader, which is a really cool app and a really cool way to kind of read things. So you get, you know, all of the information here, like outside of the website. As you get, you can kind of highlight things, you can leave notes, you can even create a thing. You can open a thing called Ghost Reader, which means you can chat to the document and stuff like that. So all that said, let's say that I've read this article, and if I go back here, I've kind of read this article. I've also read this one earlier today about stop thinking of AI as a co-worker. I think there's some interesting things here, and there's potentially an idea. So this is the Tahiti. I'm jumping around here, but this is context switching with AI. So this is the plan for looking at the feedback that we got. You can see it's like this is the code base, client-side file size, need to make that error clearer, telling you what it's going to do, the kind of problem. So it's quite a detailed plan for like those bugs. And then I can just go, yeah. And then that sent it to a new context window, so it doesn't clog up my brain conversation, which I think is really cool. Like, it's coming from email, it's kind of like dissecting it. I would maybe go back and forth on that plan a couple of times, and then it's kind of going to implement that. So if I go back to here, so now I'm kind of like, I've done my invoice, and then I read those two articles, and I can pull up a skill for reading. So now this is actually connecting to that article, the articles that I just looked, and there's different things that I can do within this. But you can also just talk to it as well. And I'm going to say, hey, read, open AI's new model and how better for using with your computer. I also was thinking of the article about stop thinking of AI as a co-worker. What do you think about this? And I think we could write a LinkedIn post about how computer work from AI is not the right problem we should be solving. This is this kind of idea. I think like we're using AI to do things that we do just now, and it's kind of weird. Like, you know, like, so you can kind of use it and it sends an email and it kind of clicks around and all that. It just feels like we've got an amazing technology and we're trying to kind of fit it into the way that we're workflowing. So those two articles, like, I kind of like think that they kind of butt against each other in a way. So now I think that's something interesting that I could write about, and it's going to kind of go through the articles. It's kind of searching for them, found the articles, and this now becomes my kind of co-writer for the blog post, not the blog post, the LinkedIn post. And it's connected to Typefully, so I can just post from here as well. So kind of another nice workflow that kind of like when you read something, you're like, hey, I think this is interesting, I think this would be worth me posting someday. Okay, so now back to Tahiti. All the changes are clear, and here's what's summarised. So they've added error states, there's different things happening in the background, and if I went over to here, might not be any visual changes, but let's see.
Is your skill like, is that kind of like a master prompt, or you told it this is my writing style?
Yeah, kinda, but it's not like, you know, like back in the day when you wrote prompts like act as a content writer and do this and don't do this. Skills are more loose. It's like, hey, if you're going to write something that I think's worth sharing, don't be a smart arse. Like, just kind of like share it as like, hey, I found this interesting. So it's not as like prescriptive in a sense, and I think that's where it's kind of like becoming more fuzzy with skills and more powerful in a sense. Okay, so that's kind of showing you like some feedback came in an email, we pulled it in, we kind of understood it, we sent it to Tahiti, and we, you know, like if we tried to upload something that was more than let's just see, more than 10 megabytes, hopefully it would kind of like tell us better. Let's find something that's like let's just upload that and see what happens. There you go. So it's kind of like an error message there. So it's updated my code, it's updated stuff, it's kind of like worked in the background. I've not touched the file, basically. Going back to this side, so, okay, so what's it saying? I love your instinct here, thank you. It's very complimentary sometimes, it's like, cool. Everybody's racing to build AI, use your computer, blah, 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 blah. We've weaved together such. So I can just say, okay, let's post this to link and but make it a draft. And then it'll save it to Typefully, which is LinkedIn. It's kind of weird, the API doesn't really work that well, so I actually had to buy a kind of intermediate platform that kind of fix things in the middle there. And this one uses an MCP for Typefully. So then if I open this here, it's got the post kind of ready to go, and then I can edit it in here like a final draft. That. So a couple of articles I read, I'm like, oh, these are kind of interesting, left some notes, highlighted some stuff, went back to my brain with a kind of clear thinking. I'm like, hey, is this kind of nice? Is this a nice little angle? You could bring it in there and then you can just post it. So kind of making things like much more accessible in terms of getting things done. So, what's my next demo? Created an invoice, turned it into post. So then my day-to-day, like, so you can start day, you can end day. I can also, if I go back to here, so on my phone, can I make this bigger? View, make it larger. So that was what I just opened there. So if I go here, and if I go to Telegram, which is kind of like just WhatsApp, but it's got a really powerful API. So I can just actually talk to my brain here, and this is talking to my Mac Mini, so I can go, give me an update on my quarterly goals. which I already tested, as you can see, but it can kind of, it's going to my brain back in Montreal. It's kind of like checking what's happening. It's a little bit sluggish sometimes, but it's an interface that I have now with kind of like from anywhere, so I don't need to be on the terminal, which is one of the biggest things with Claude Code that kind of help people back. So there you go, a couple of red things, that's not good. So like, my habit for using this is going well. I'm doing Stanford courses at the moment that are, it's not my fault I'm not doing them, they're so boring that it's scary, like how much they think this is teaching people. It's like 10 grand. I was like, why did I do this? And then automation. So like by the end of this quarter, I'm really wanting to automate all of my Mogul work. So any bugs that come in through emails, my support emails, it's going to create tickets, and then the tickets are going to get distributed to my team who work offshore, and then we're going to kind of like centralize that kind of like brain for Mogul. There's also going to kind of write proposals, stay on top of finances. So that's kind of on track. And then it kind of asks you like, have you actually started any of these modules? If not, this isn't realistic. So it's kind of like accountability. It's kind of nice in a way. And it's a good way of doing it. If I scroll up here, so on the train from Montreal, like I actually kind of like created, this arc for today. I kind of went over some ideas that I had, and I actually was kind of developing the slides that you're seeing as code. So I was just typing in, now create a slide for this, now create a slide for this, and it kind of worked pretty well. I did it as an experiment, basically. So you can kind of see here's the different acts, 8 slides for this, blah, 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 blah. So you're kind of like doing work on your mobile more and more now, and it's kind of a nice way. I think there's like something you said there, like you need to get confident that something's going to work well before you can kind of use it somewhere else. So now that I'm testing things, and I'm and it's getting better and better. Like honestly, every week it feels as though it's just connecting the dots a little bit better. So what's my next? What's happening in the World Cup? Let's see. Well, so it's into code. So it's like, let's see what it's done in Obsidian then. So if we go here and
is it doing the back end for this?
No, it's just front end. Up front, it'll be loads of CD data. It probably won't be creating a database, but that's okay for me. Like I don't want to kind of like over-engineer something when I'm just prototyping it. Yeah. So here, if I go in my projects, I would put it in a side project. So here's a World Cup Traveller. So it's kind of created a project file, and it's kind of got there. So let's see, what did we ask it to do first? Research. So we've got market research, sports tourism, football tourism, World Cup economics. Interesting. So you can start to put numbers together. Fan travel behaviour, ticket holders, average spend, 3 to 4 grand. I will not be spending that. I think there'll be a lot more based on the tickets. So this whole folder is new from when we started this talk, and you can see that it's kind of gone through the process that I would normally go through. This is kind of cool. It's like got some stadiums, so it's got all of the locations for us. There's only 2 in Canada. Total addressable market. So this is in my skill. This is the kind of things that I'm looking for when I do research. Serviceable account map. It's kind of doing some calculations. Competitor analysis. So it's looking at different FIFA app, fan zone 1. So it's got some stuff there. I think I also ask it when it does a competitor research to take screen grabs. So we'll look at what it's done there. If I look here, no screen grabs, but so that's kind of market research. And then let's look at what it's done for strategy. So it's kind of created some personas. The love-hate relationship with personas. I don't mind them as long as people don't spend too much time on them, unless they're actually done with real people. They're a kind of nice thing to have, but I don't get too hung up on them. But it's nice to have a couple of personas. Let's see what the business candidates model was. So value proposition, customer relationships. So it's done I think it's done an okay job. Customer segments, so you've got international, domestic travellers, and there's going to be loads of domestic travellers for the World Cup because everybody in America is starting to love football. Different channels, so direct, social, obviously going to be massive. Cost of development, 50 grand, content creation. So it's actually putting numbers, which is kind of nice as well, and then revenue streams. So it's talking about a freemium model. So that I feel like that's, as a first draft business model canvas, it's kind of cool. And then value proposition, so job to be done, see Brazil play as many matches as possible, blah, blah, blah. What are the pains, what are the gains. Okay, and then if we go to the UX, so it's created a sitemap for us. So matches, match ID, cities, planner, briefings about. So it's kind of a pretty lightweight sitemap, I'd say. And then, we never looked at the brand stuff. Let's look at a couple of pages first. So here you see that it's kind of like actually drawn little mini components for us, which is kind of cool. Like cities page, tab styles, search bar. So it's kind of been quite verbose on how it's describing what the pages should be. A countdown, kind of nice. Explore city hosts, city images. Okay, I'm pretty happy with it, with what it's kind of describing here. Let's look at the brand. So, brand directions. Direction 1, match day. Not sure about that. Broadsheet font, visual language, tone of voice, knowledgeable, blah, 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 blah. Second one, Ruta 26, Pan American road trip. It's got an angle. It'll be interesting to see which one it picked, won't it? Pitch side, modern sports editorial. I kind of like the modern sports editorial because I like the idea of it being, maybe if it had something travel related in there as well, like modern sports travel editorial. And let's see what it shows. So Ruta 26, okay. So logo, what's that? So I do have image generation in my brain. It's kind of sluggish, right? And it kind of like, it slows things down. So I've kind of removed it. I'm not a massive image generation guy kind of thing. Like if I do, I use artist list where I can just use anything. So I've tried it and it's kind of like a bit funky.
So when it generates the site, is it just going to be colors and placeholders for images, or there'll be like?
No, it's going to be code.
Icons?
No, it's going to be code. Let's see what it's done. Let's see where it's at. So you can see that it's kind of creating code. So if I went to, let's just go in Finder. So if I went into Finder and I went up a level, if I just went to GitHub, what did we call it? So World Cup Traveller. Which one did it? Today. So this one was created. So you can see that it's created actual code for the prototype. It's kind of got all the pages, the apps. It's got some global CSS, which I imagine will be the styles from the brand. So it's actually creating it. So no need for kind of going into Figma in a sense like that. So you're kind of actually creating the prototype first version there. So that's kind of interesting that they went through all those steps. Let's see how far it gets with the actual coding. So going back here as well, so there's another couple of things that I kind of really like to, I've just added recently. So as I mentioned, my daughter Marisol, she speaks French, I don't. So all the emails come in and they kind of get filtered for me, which is cool. But we also kind of created this, I've created this thing called a kit. So I can say, so if I'm here, I can say, okay, now I want to create a kit for Marisol as we are going to the aquarium tomorrow. We should have some time tonight to do some arts and crafts. And then if I kind of just go kit, I have a skill that kind of goes through what that means. So I'll take a subject, I'll take an idea, I'll load in my skill, and then it kind of creates discussion points to have with her, and then it kind of creates different activities to have. And then that's where the image generation was working, because it can kind of actually create templates and things like that to use and that. So just to kind of say that it's actually like extending outside of normal coding and normal kind of day-to-day work for the business, and I'm starting to use it in this sense. So we'll kind of see what comes out of this as well. 5 minutes, okay. I think like maybe we should just stop, maybe have like if there's any questions or...
Can you talk a little bit more about costs? And
Costs?
assuming, are you running like your brains on Mac Mini using self-hosted LLMs, or are you using?
So I'm using Max, so it's $200 a month, which in the face of it you're like, whew. But using the API, it's just too worrisome of how much it's going to cost. So I use Max. I pay $200. I honestly, I think it's like the best $200 I spend. Like I don't have Claude Code anymore. I don't have ChatGPT anymore. I used to have like other tools like Lovable, which was like $30 an hour. I used to have a couple for like writing. I don't have them. So it's kind of like consolidation of everything into one, and I'm kind of happy paying $200 for it. It's not like it's less than like an hour's work for a good strategist, like, you know.
Have you given full access to all your accounts to that Cloud?
Pretty much. Like it reads my emails. It can post on LinkedIn for me. There's not a lot of things that I don't give it access to from a security standpoint, you know, which is scary. Like,
how do you ensure security?
Well, I mean, it doesn't have my credit card, which is kind of one thing. But secure. So it's funny because at the same time as I was developing this, if you probably saw it a couple of months ago, there was like OpenClaw that came out, and I think it's similar, right? But OpenClaw is kind of like we were talking about earlier. It's just a little bit black boxy for me. It's a bit scary because you're just pressing a button and it's like there. So I know everything that goes into this kind of thing. Like it's my fingers that, well, not my fingers that have typed, it's my fingers that have told Claude what to type. But I kind of know the ins and outs of it, so I have more trustworthiness of it. Whereas like pulling something off the shelf is a bit scary in a sense, you know, where you actually have things. And also this code is just on my Mac here. There's nothing in the code that is, you know, like all of my APIs and all my API keys and all that are in session variables. There's nothing in GitHub that could damage my life.
How long? I mean, I'm sure it can take you set this up over many weeks and everything. But if we were starting tomorrow, how long do you think?
So I have a starter kit for it, right? But I don't think you need it.
Oh yeah.
Like honestly, I think like if I show you, so let's say we wanted to create a new skill, right?
Yeah.
Like what? Anybody got an idea for a skill? Something that you do maybe a couple of times. Like I was thinking we could have one that helps you build an itinerary for a day, right? So all you have to do is kind of ask Claude to do it. Hey, I want to create a new skill for itinerary building. It's just for me and Vic and Marisol, so keep any recommendations. Family, I don't want hour by hour, but morning, afternoon. Can you create the skill and we can discuss? So it's going to create that file that I showed you, all right? And then I'll run it a couple of times, give me a itinerary for a day in Montreal, where I know what I would do in Montreal, and I'm like, nah, let's go for different stuff. So this is what I'm saying. Like, if you went on to Claude Code and just started and said, hey, I saw a kind of cool talk about open brain, second brain. It uses para method, it uses Obsidian. Let's brainstorm how that would work. You would have something up and running in a couple of hours. And then you build from that. And I think that's better in a sense, because you're kind of fixing your little things and you're fixing your problems in a sense. But I can offer you my starter kit as well. Like, okay, I really wanted this World Cup to.
There's not like a percentage complete. It's just going to go.
Well, it won't build. The site won't build. No, there's not. Actually, that would be kind of cool. Actually, well, you can kind of see. You can kind of do Control O. That's just showing you actually the files. So you can usually see where it is on where it's going through tasks, but it doesn't seem to be showing it here. Any other thoughts or questions? Is this like, yep?
So 2 questions. Are you using Claude Code Pro? Because I think Claude Code Pro is the only one that can access
Yeah.
kind of like all your skills and things like that.
Yeah. So I'm using the $200 a month, like the.
Right. Okay. Do you need 200? Because I got like the $20 a month.
So the $20 a month you can use and so the Claude app, which now gives you kind of 3 different things. So in Claude app now you've got chat, which is just your normal chatbot. You've got this co-work, which I've actually never used, but it's basically, it gets control of your laptop and it can do things. And you've got code, which is like, this is kind of cool as well, because sometimes if I have a task, I'll send it to this because it just does it in the cloud. And it doesn't need to do it on my Mac Mini or anything. And it connects to Git repository and it kind of like creates a PR, and it's kind of cool as well. But that's what you can do there. I don't think you can use Claude Code in the terminal without the Max version. Okay, what's this? Okay, so this is it's kind of created an itinerary. So now let's see if I can actually use this. So I always put an underscore for my brain skill, because I have skills that can kind of like be used anywhere. So let's do an itinerary. Destination, so Toronto to tomorrow. So let's see what comes out of that. And then if I go over, let's see what happened with the kit. So if I create a new folder for kits. So there's my aquarium adventure kit. So it's telling me about different zones, different concepts, tips for parents, let Marisol lead the aquarium, quick facts so I can look like a smart dad. Discussion, this is kind of a cool thing that we've always had, like, like what if you could breathe underwater for one day, blah blah blah. And then these are the activities, so paper plate jellyfish, here's what you need, ocean in a bottle. So it's kind of like a cool little thing that kind of gives me extra things to be a better father. So just say one day, I am here, got accommodation, no must-dos apart from pizza. Oh. All 10 back. Okay, let's see. Now it's testing it. Oh, I shouldn't have put so many things on. So then you can see that this skill's already told itself to do web searches, Sugar Shark, Harbourfront, blah blah blah. So you can see that that's me creating the skill in like 10 seconds. Like there's no kind of like overhead on it. It's like Claude's just doing everything for you. You just need to have the ideas. Are we up? We're out of time? There's one more question?
Yeah, just curious, like how much is your average cost for your entire stack is like?
For my stack or for my team?
Whatever the entire architecture that you showed at the beginning.
For the actual cost, like monthly?
Like all the different services that you
Yeah, I would say it probably averages out. Like I would say it's probably $300 for $400 a month. Like by the time you kind of add on the things that I use, like I pay for Figma, man. It's so expensive. Like there's a lot of things. I will say, like I had an offshore team this time last year that were nearly 12 people, and I'm 6 people now, and we're doing the same amount of work. Like, and I think. There's kind of like AI for me is really empowering because I have a small team, I have a small company. I don't have the ability to. I don't have the ability to hire a finance person full time, but I have enough understanding of finance that I can get through it. Not taxes, but can get through it with AI. Like I don't love marketing and all that, but my next quarter I'm going to start thinking about using this to market stuff. Here we go. Is everybody as nervous as well? Okay. So, yeah, it's something. Where to eat, where to drink, fan zones, safety tips. This is cool. Like, has it actually got, let me tell you if it's got the actual, well, it's not got it right because Denmark aren't in the World Cup yet. They might be. And Brazil not playing Colombia. So this is fake content. Like, and I'm sure I could just go back and say this, but this is kind of like a nice thing that I could see that we could iterate on. You get city, you get planner. So you can, so you've got an interactive planner, which is kind of cool, where you can actually see, which games you're going to go to. This is actually, I could see that working. What's everybody's thoughts on?
I think I've done stuff like this before, and I think a lot of the time is like you make something all right as a first pass.
Yeah.
And you're going to spend a lot of time fixing it.
But that's why I like to think of this as a prototype. Yeah. Hey, would this section actually make sense? It's not like a finished product. There's a long way to get to before a finished product. But to think that we've done that in 45 minutes.
It's amazing. I mean, like a few years ago, you would have needed an entire team.
Yeah.
Weeks.
Yeah.
Just to get to that.
Exactly.
You needed it in 27 minutes.
So the UI is pretty fun.
The UI is fine. It's readable. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's testable. It's testable. So this is really wrong because there's no way in the world I'm going for a run. It's not know me. But there you go. Like there's your itinerary. North of Brooklyn, is that a good pizza place? Yeah, there you go. Like so, it's kind of we've created a skill for itinerary.
It's not a chain.
Yeah.
So why don't we let everybody go to the coffee
Yep.
break, and then if there's any other questions, you can come up.
Thanks very much
Yeah,
for
thank
sitting
you.
through that.
Yeah.